see if I can share a bunch of emails received, but this wind is absolutely amazing. But I want to show everybody this view, so I'll zoom in behind me and show you anyway. It's gonna work, and I just laid down some moose calls out towards that patch of that hill back there behind me, and believe it or not, if there's a rutted-out bull moose on top of that hill behind me, I can call them to me from there pretty easy, but you just don't know if the right one's there or not. So anyway, sometimes it can take an hour for them to get to you, and they're too far away for you to hear them. So, while I sit here and wait, and be patient, I'm going to share some emails. What a great place to do that from, isn't it? On the side of a steep side hill. Let's see what we have here. Not be funny if a great big bull moose comes out behind me, or anything else for that matter. As I scrolled, try to get to the bottom, which means the people who have been waiting the longest. What's this one? This one sounds alarming. The Long Encounter. Steve, been a big fan of your platform. Thank you for your honesty in putting this information out there. From what I take away of all these interactions with bipedal hominids, very few people come away with a positive result. I fully agree. In fact, most are truly traumatized, and the effects can be lifelong. That being said, I'm putting this out there on behalf of a longtime friend, Tanya, and her companion Mark, who were avid hikers and gold seekers. I say were because they are no longer. In fact, Tanya has moved to Redding, California. Mark refuses to talk. Such a bizarre reaction. I'll probably never understand that. The never talking about it part myself. I live in Sheep Ranch, California. Population 37, elevation 2,350 feet. In the early evening of late September 2020, my friends arrived at my house visibly shaken and traumatized from a hiking trip cut short. The following is as much as my interrogation produced, and I know they didn't embellish any aspect. And for days following, Tanya had the shakes like someone with Parkinson's. And that's what makes me angry, right? It's that these are the experiences that really make my blood boil with those sons of bitches who do not educate us honestly from a very young age. Drives me insane. It was mid-afternoon when the two set out for an overnight gold-seeking hike down the San Antoine Creek, which cuts through mountains that rise 1,000 feet on both sides before the dark canopy empties out into a sunny boulder field. Mark had set about panning some gravel, while nature girl Tanya, clad only in her Daisy Dukes, toplessly enjoyed wading in a cool, clear pool. Looking up at a group of saplings, Tanya caught the form of a 5-foot, her height, figure, covered in peppered gray hair, standing absolutely still less than 20 feet from her. She saw its eyes, golden brown in color, and leather brown skin around its eyes. Tanya recounts that its message, curiosity, and she says she has no idea why, but she splashed water and numerous times said, "Come play." This goes on for several minutes, with her trying to get Mark's attention to her encounter, and his response of, "I don't see nothing," and going back to panning. After a bit of this, she takes her eyes off the creature in an attempt to get Mark's full attention. She turns back, and the curious juvenile was gone. However, now, and with Mark's full attention to her area, at 30 feet above on the boulder field stands a 10-foot tall, 900-pound alpha male, and its eyes were flipping into a red, reflective glow. Mark locked eyes with this one, and its message was insanely clear in both of their minds. What are you doing in my house? And I will rip your head off. Leaving shovel and pan, the two scrambled back into what is now a very dark creek, and an hour of terror with snapping trees at their heels, not stopping until they reached the bridge where they had parked the truck. Not days after this, on the trail leading downstream appeared this 30-foot tall tree hung upside down in cottonwood tree. The hung tree is an oak tree with a trunk of 6 to 8 inches at the base of which is ripped from the ground. I'm including this photo for your listeners to view in hopes that people will take notice of these forest signs and take heed. In closing note, Sheep Ranch is located in the Calaveras County, which was named by the early Mexicans meaning River of Skulls. Feel free to use my name and look forward to hearing more from the Club of No Return. Sincerely, Kurt Donajski, Sheep Ranch, California. Kurt, absolutely appreciate that share, man. And what a shit-eating result that poor Tanya and Mark had. Especially Mark not being able to talk about it. I hope Tanya's shakes have subsided. It just sucks ass, doesn't it? And for all you people wondering where the photograph is, I didn't have the photograph attached to this in my notes. And I definitely don't have any internet connection here to go digging for it. But I'll try to remember to dig it up later and add it in, all right? And share it with you guys later on once I'm home. And if I forget to, try to remind me somehow, all right? Thanks for that share, and especially given the location and the results of the experience, so people can take note of that, all right? And make decisions for themselves a little more responsibly when it comes to this topic. Good thing is those two people did not disappear, and they did not get their heads ripped off, right? All right, what do we got here? This is the title, Hair Man Membership Approved. Call me Laura. First of all, sorry about Mr. Macaroni. It's never easy to lose an animal, especially a working animal, as they are an extension of how we create our future. Thanks for the kind words. The encounters. November 2004 or 2005, northeastern Washington State, the Selkirk at Leclerc Creek, not the road. This specific area has already been mentioned on your channel. Big bucks, black bear and grizzlies, elk and moose. 4 of us stop at Logan Road that has a spur off that was decommissioned. My husband and his best buddy headed north until the buddy could split off and head east on foot. Another guy we don't normally hunt with headed south, and I got the west direction. We were there more to check out the location and terrain, as we've never hunted this area before. I held back to give the group distance before I trekked in. I honestly wanted the shot if they spooked a whitetail out. They didn't. I took off on the decommissioned spur and got maybe 600 yards in, and noticed the guy that went south had jumped off road way before he should have, landing him in my area virtually in front of me. Pissed me the F off. Just as I stopped to turn around, something broke a branch not 20 yards to my right. This area is thick with underbrush, so 10 yards was my visual end. I swung my rifle that direction and gazed that way about 15 seconds, trying to get a bead on what caused the sound. I could see something that looked to be up the hill, or just so tall its dark shadow was 9 to 10 foot off the ground just above the thick underbrush. My safety came off at that moment. I felt this sudden shocked feeling, and it ducked. I stood there another 2 minutes scanning that hill, nothing. I backed my ass out to the rig and walked around to the far side of the rig to hold a defensive position. Something didn't feel right, and I couldn't leave without the guys. Finally, after 30 minutes, I relaxed a bit and really had to piss. So that meant losing some view of that hill and losing my hand on the rifle. As soon as I finished, I heard loud, heavy footsteps heading east. Pants undone, I grabbed my rifle back up and followed the sound just as I seen something dark drop behind another hill directly behind the ridge, and now there was fresh steps and a stench that was decay and wet. Okay, Laura, get your shit together. I fastened my pants and ran. The hill was small gravels and the tracks were still filling back in as I got there. I'll read that one more time. The hill was small gravels and the tracks were still filling back in as I got there. It took everything for me to climb up there. It left 2 prints, but me, on the other hand, left a wrestling match going up it in my attempt to climb it. I got to the top and brought my rifle down for what I was hunting. Sat on that hill looking out into a small meadow with nothing in view. That's when I noticed no noise. Next was the scream/roar, loud, a heavy with bass, then a crack and a loud bang like a bat hitting a tree just inside the tree line on the opposite side of the meadow. My rifle safety went back on, and I shouldered it. Put my hands in the air. I yelled out, "You are not what I hunt," and I left back to the rig. Absolutely nothing else happened after that. An hour later, the guy that crossed my hunt area came back, and I chatted with him for 10 minutes, keeping my eye vigilant. He's seen nor heard anything but grouse, so his defense was way down. My husband and his buddy showed up, and once again, they didn't see or hear anything. I told them there's a real nice open meadow on the other side of that hill. They started to walk over and look and asked what happened on the hill. They knew there wasn't a track on that hill because they walked over at the beginning to check for deer track, then took off north. My husband looked at me and said, "It looks like you were wrestling something on it." I laughed, they laughed, and I never told them what happened. I was the last to load up in the rig. That was a gunshot, way off in the distance. I was the last to load up in the rig, and I stayed unlocked and loaded till the very last moment before getting in the rig. We still hunt that area. Next encounter. Another one, 2017. I'm not going to give a location except to say south of Selkirk in Washington on this one, as I frequently visit this community. It's been wet snow coming down all day. My husband and I decided to call a paper mill forestry company and get permission to hunt. Once we got the email authorization, we drove in post the gate, and there's a buck up on the road and off some buckbrush. I have my husband drive further up so I can drop on him from a small grove of trees. This buck's in a 3-way pinched point, definitely a nice place to sit in the future. I come back in on the buck and he spooks back to me. What the F? The buck then decided to bolt up one of the draws and up over the hill. Gone. My husband had already driven back down and out of the paper mill land. I decided to hang a bit longer to see if the buck comes around again, but I'm not set for wet snow, so I started back down after scoping the land. I get to the dirt road to the last 500 yards before coming out of paper mill. That last section was old wood rail fence. Not but 30 feet inside that fence, I noticed what I would say is a 10-foot plus tall stump of big Douglas fir. Strange. It looks fresh, but no top anymore, and nothing near it laying around on the ground. I'm looking straight at this for several minutes, but I can not focus on it hard enough. Even stranger. Then I start to notice the bark is not bark like normal. It's more like short, brownish, red and black, wet hair. I look real hard on the top of this stump, and I just kept my gaze on the top. And that's when, after another minute, that I watch as this big, wide, red/brown eyes go from looking away from me to now side-eyeing me back and forth, and now a hint of a mouth. I'm so effing done that I jump in surprise and turn and make a quick trek to my husband down the road as he's driving real slow to me. I don't say a word. I just get into the rig and say, "Deer's gone, but we should definitely come back later." He actually drove past where I saw this to turn around and go back out. That whatever it was gone. Did I just see a hairy man? Did I just stare at a hairy man for 3 or 4 minutes at 30 feet away? To this day, I've yet to say anything to my husband because, well, I like hunting this area. Looking back at that, I was coming down and my husband saw me and started to move in the white rig to meet me, and this big hairy man got caught between us, and I happened to notice him. I never unshouldered my rifle. Next, another one. 2018, my husband and I hunt with one other guy always. Anything after that are just guests to us. We also set up 2 camps in 2 different areas in eastern Washington for a late whitetail hunt. That way we can quickly head to a better prospect. Works perfect for us and has for 17 years. The first couple days of late hunt is splitting up to get a bead on big bucks. Whitetail and rut is just find the ladies and wait. Night 1 is over, but during day 2 we are talking on the phone to our hunting buddy. He's by himself and he keeps hearing clicks and murmured voices. Night 2 and day 3, he's still reporting hearing clicks and murmured voices. My husband and I decide to go to his camp as he's reported several big bucks around. He's at the fire telling us just to listen. We can hear the clicks and what sounds like words, but not words. I told him indigenous people use that clicking as a form of location between one another. I've also heard Big Hairy Man uses that too. I could see him visibly straighten up with that. I just said it sounds like you're being looked after. We watched that night as clicks and unintelligible words crossed this whole ridge line behind us, changing location almost like someone was moving through. After it went quiet finally, we all retired for the night. We still set up camp there to this day. Well, that's my welcome to the Roundtable Stories. I don't doubt there is unknowns out there. I look at these interactions as something I should accept and move on. I've never felt afraid, just shocked. Am I privileged enough to have seen one? I sure am. I'll die knowing I'm in that club. Looking forward to more people coming forward to tell the stories. Thanks again, Laura. Holy shit, Laura. Thanks again for that share. And good for you for keep going back there and staying in the game in that area, right? We all share this planet together, period. And as long as we're not out to intentionally seek each other or harm each other, well, there's nothing wrong with sharing the same forests and mountains, right? It's funny on the mention of realizing that stump was a being. Many people have realized that and seen that. They've seen a stump, or else another quote I remember was all of a sudden the stump rose to 10 feet tall in front of him, right? Sometimes I wonder, I'm never looking for that. I'm never ever looking for a stump to stare at when I'm in big timber, especially never before log timber. Any timber. I'm never doing that intentionally. I don't wonder how long it would take to actually see one of those things if you did set out to do that. If you just, moved along in the timber and intentionally looked for that stump and then really started looking at that stump, right? I wonder how soon it would take for you to actually see one of those things if that's what you went about doing. I'm not really craving it myself. I've seen enough. I just want to know why we're not being told about these things, and I want to know why. And that will answer a shit pile. Guaranteed. All right. Encounter in Hoopa. Hi, Steve. Here's my story. This took place in Hoopa, California in 2013. One of my still very good friends lives in Blue Lake, California, and his uncle has the 40-acre plot adjacent to the ancient burial grounds. He's a caretaker of that of sorts. My friend and I were invited up for dinner to see his uncle and his family. So just before eating, we were inside the living room talking about Sasquatch. And as we hear and see a black bear hauling ass past the front door and windows. A split second later, we heard 4 loud as hell bipedal steps. Who was chasing the bear. None of us seen it. It was just inside the thick blackberry bramble. Being the newbie to Sasquatch encounters, I said, what the F was that? Everybody, my friend, his uncle, wife, and kids, all sort of laughed and said that was a Sasquatch, like it was an everyday occurrence. I'd always wanted to see one, even as a little kid. But after just hearing and feeling this thing running after the bear, oh yeah, the whole porch and all the windows in the door shook, vibrated. Holy shit. Not interested in seeing one so much anymore. I live in Southern Oregon now. I know David Plaitis has done research in Hoopa. If you or he would ever like my friend and his uncle's contact info, drop me a line. My name cannot be shared because of my job. His uncle has a shitload of stories, some of which I heard that night, but they are his encounters. Thanks for all you do, Steve, and keep it up as long as you can. It is needed. Also, I sent you another email a couple weeks ago about a rock that was thrown at you and just missed you. That might be a nice one to add a picture of, or a compilation of. All right, thanks. I've had a lot of people mention rocks going flying by me, and if they did, they did. I'm not concerned about it. I really am not. If rocks go flying by me and miss me, perfect. If a rock comes and hits me, then I'll be concerned about it, and I'll probably be looking to find out who did it. But until then, let it happen. Let it rip. I don't care. I just don't want all this ruined for me, right? You see where I am by myself right now? I've been here 5 days alone. No problems. I don't need any problems, right? I need to be able to do this. If something rattles me so bad that I stop coming out here, it might as well be an early death for me, right? So that is, for all you people that are curious, that's why I don't intentionally look to have experience with these things. I've had enough of them. I've had enough, right? Myself. I just want to know why. And I want to inform everybody. And I want everyone who's had this experience to get their respect back, know they're not crazy, know they're not alone. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm not going to stop. And of course, expose the douchebags when I can, because I just have a thing for douchebags. I want to squish them all. All right, what do we got here? Our events. Hi, Steve. I'm a 7-year-old retired nurse. I've had maybe more than one experience with these beings, or maybe with different ones, as I look back over strange things that have happened since moving to Missouri about 40 years ago. First one. All right, I don't know what that was. Hopefully it wasn't a rock just landed beside my frickin' head. Did you hear it? 2 trees above me. First one. I don't give a shit. Whatever. If it is, it is. What are the chances, right? Probably a branch in the wind. First one. Moved from California and bought 20 acres near Buffalo, MO, in an area of few close neighbors. Put single-wide trailer on it. My husband was an over-the-road truck driver, so my little girls and I were alone most of the time. One night, after putting the girls to bed, I was near a back window facing a wooded area. I was scared witless when I heard a loud, almost insane laughing coming from the edge of the woods, probably 300 yards from me. 300. It sounded like a hyena or a crazy man. I went to the innermost part of the trailer, away from any windows, and closed the girls' room. My heart raced for nearly an hour in fear. No doubt. Second experience. 25 years or so ago, we bought 12 acres and had a house built on the 2 acres closest to the gravel road. My youngest daughter and her husband moved a double wide onto the side of the house about 100 feet away, off the side of the house. At that time, we hadn't put any fencing up. The front 2 acres were mostly cleared off of brush, and a few trees were left that we decided to keep. One evening, the married daughter asked my oldest daughter to house sit their inside dog, while the couple and their baby went away for a couple days. In the middle of the night, she called, very upset and scared. Said there were noises out in the yard. I was perturbed because we'd had the rancher's cows from the south of us get out and tore up the yard in front of the house. I was expecting the problem was back, only there weren't any cows. My husband and I could hear loud footfalls going around the house, but it was too dark out to see anything. Soon my daughter called again, saying that whatever it was running around the trailer, and the dog was going ape, chasing it. There was no porch on yet, and the floor was about 4 feet off the ground. She could hear the thing breathing next to the wall at her head level, and she was 5'4". It would have been at least 8 feet tall. It continued to run around there several times, with the poor dog following along inside and barking crazily. This incident stopped when my husband went outside onto our porch and shot his rifle in the air a couple times. The next morning we couldn't find any footprints, but the swing set with slide had been broken by being pushed into the big oak tree. Third event. I was widowed and my oldest daughter was living with me. She pulled in from work after dark. While getting into the back of the pickup to remove her stuff to bring in, she felt she was being watched. She was about 20 feet from the dirt road. She turned to the road, and sitting in the middle of the road, about another 20 feet west of the driveway, was a canine. It was sitting watching her. And in sitting position, it was at least 4 feet tall. Needless to say, she got into the house quickly. We don't go outside at night at all anymore for fun, and if we come home at night, we get inside as soon as possible. I found your channel back when it was films of your hunting expeditions. I could never go to see all the beautiful places you went to, so I enjoyed your videos. I enjoy all your videos now for the same reason. And I've been a believer since Legend Creek and the Gimlin spelling film. I've learned through you about actual sightings here in Missouri. I figured there would have to be. I'm also with you about the position of the world we live in. Some wind. The people pulling the strings are corrupt and only interested in power and gain. I've investigated it too. I found a book that puts it out in black and white for all of what's been happening for quite a while. I just saw an interview with Ben Carson, the man who ran for president and who I wish had won. And he brought the book up saying it had what was happening in it. It is written by a former FBI agent, former policeman, and very learned man by the name of W. Cleon Skousen. It's called The Naked Communist. I bought mine on Amazon. I feel it will put some more picks to the puzzle together for you, and please pass it on if you do find it as revealing as I think you will. Thanks for all you do. I feel a little more hope when I know there are men like you and David P. out there concerned about reason and freedom like I am. Keep up the good work you are doing. Thank you, Joyce. Joyce, appreciate your share, your time you took to email that and write it out, share it with the world through me. And that's unfortunate about being held hostage inside your own home at nighttime, being terrified to step out the frickin' door. It's not fair. It's not fair. Thanks for that mention of the book. Hopefully I'll remember to grab one. I'll check it out for sure. And I guess if you guys are all listening to me right now, then that book just got spread out to all of you. And don't kid yourself for 1 second that the world's definitely getting screwed over right now by a very dark force. 100% for certain. It's very unfortunate. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to not be able to fight back, fight an enemy you can't see, right? It's very frustrating for me because I want to put an end to all this horse shit so bad. But informing the people honestly is one thing I can do, and so are all of you through me with each other, right? The voice of the people is what counts. The voice of the people is where the true power is. You got to take that power away from the dirty shitbags. It's a good place for the soul, man. I wish everybody could get out here and do this. Get out, be alone, exercise your true senses, right? It makes everything very clear between your ears. Especially when you jump back into the frickin' crazy rat race after you get to spend a lot of time with yourself like this, relying on yourself only and exercising your true natural skills. The bullshit stands out very clearly once you're forced to jump back into the mainstream with everybody else. Anyway, I'm going to try calling some moose one more time, then I'm going to whip back to camp, pack up, and I'm moving. And hopefully, I'll get time to do this again. Be safe out there. Alright, I gotta sit here a little bit longer. So I'm gonna share some more. Alright, this one's titled Afghanistan. Countless variations of humanoids survived the Great Apocalypse, wearing plasma event and subsequent flood thereafter. We, modern-day man, are the inheritors of this ancient world, a once greater and more advanced world, and share it with many humanoid and non-humanoid entities who also share the same DNA. The 1,000-year war was once more open upon us in this never-ending matrix of holy wars in the biblical sense, good versus evil. This being the sole reason why these elusive answers you seek are being covered up, scrubbed from media, and more importantly, information related to this topic is deemed classified by all agency brass. Governments are only puppets for the satanic global cabal. Omission from governments that these creatures exist would be the omission that God, the Creator, indeed exists. Without a great spiritual awakening of the masses, immediately we will be facing extinction. If that occurs, human survivors will be bred into slavery and used as livestock for the next 1,000 years. Yours truly, Sean. All right, Sean, and then you left a photograph, and this is a freaking bizarre picture. I'm going to hold up the screen, and hopefully this will work. You ready, guys? Is that working? It's a little different. Actually, I guess I don't even know why I just did that, because I'm going to be able to edit this once I get home. And then I'll be able to put that photo in there. Sean, thanks for that. It's not the first time we've heard that storyline, that's for sure. If it's true, I guess we're going to soon find out, right? Bigfoot, Prince William Forest Park, Virginia. Hi, Steve. I want to start off by saying thank you for doing what you're doing and getting the word out there from others' experiences with cryptids and the unknown. We live in Massachusetts with the 4 kids. Back in September 2016, we took a family road trip down to Disney World in Florida for a week-long stay. On the way back, we decided to stop at a campground for the night to rest before continuing the journey home. We found a campground along the way called Prince William Forest Park in Virginia. It was located 4 miles deep in the woods. We let the kids sleep in our expedition while my husband and I slept by the fire. The forest was dense and quiet. There was only one other family we saw. I woke around 2 a.m. because I had to pee, so I woke my husband to accompany me to the bathroom since I'm scared of the outdoors. It's just not my thing. More my husband's thing, but I do it for him and the kids because they absolutely love the outdoors. No more than being awake for 5 minutes, we heard numerous owls hooting. Then almost immediately, the hooting sounds morphed into coyotes howling, then quickly changed to what sounded like laughing hyenas or something of that nature, then instantly changing again to what we can only think to compare to gorillas or baboons screaming. That would suck. Then instantly changing again to what we can only think compared to gorillas on screen. The sounds were extremely loud and deep, not possible to be made by a human, as it sounded like there were many of these creatures congregated together. My immediate thought was that they were celebrating a kill or something. But what do I know? All I know was it sent chills up my spine as my husband was unfazed. He is fascinated with the subject. I, however, wanted to rip out everything from the car and jump in. I don't care if my husband couldn't fit. I was freaked the F out. But as you can imagine, our car was packed to the gills with just about everything under the sun. It wasn't easy, but my husband eventually calmed me down, convincing me to continue sleeping outside as to not wake or worry the kids, especially our little ones. After the experience, I searched online for Bigfoot sightings in that area and found numerous experiences at that park and at Quantico Marine Base, which is located nearby. We know what we heard and could give two shits if anyone wants to ridicule or laugh at us. Because as you know, Steve, there's definitely something out there we don't know much about, and clearly the government chooses to keep us in the dark. Thanks for sharing our experience. We appreciate it. Sorry it's so lengthy. We love listening to you, and keep doing what you're doing. Take care and be well. There's your name. I can't remember if you said the username or not, so I'm not going to. Yeah, I won't use your name. No biggie. But thank you so much for that share. Absolutely appreciate it. And I do not wish those sounds to be experienced upon anyone, I'll tell you what. All right, one more. You guys see a moose behind me yet? Be quiet down there, although I thought I heard something a minute ago. Anonymous but happy to finally share after 47 years. Well, what a sentence. In 1974, I was 8 years old and had never heard of Bigfoot. I had heard of the abominable snowman that lived on Mount Everest. As far as I knew, he was a big, white, hairy monster and was probably make-believe. We lived in the northwest Florida panhandle. My dad would tell his friends stories about an area that had huge Russian boar. They had sharp tusks, were mean as hell, and would charge hunters. A group of my dad's friends decided to plan a hunting trip. I begged to go, and my wish was granted. The 4-day trip was planned for 8 men and 3 John boats. We were supposed to meet at the boat ramp in the afternoon so we could get on the river and set up camp before dark. The last man with the boat showed up late. We put the boats in where the Choctawhatchee River dumps into the Choctawhatchee Bay. We went several miles up the river. The river was very murky, and the forest was absolutely the densest woods I've ever seen. We set up camp on a point where a tributary fed into the river. We were losing light fast as we set up camp. I kept staring at a spot in the bank across a tributary about 25 yards away. I don't know why I kept looking there. It was dense forest to the edge of the water with only about a foot of vertical bank. There was nothing moving over there, but there was a very dark area of brush and trees. There was a dark pocket in the vegetation behind 2 wide stumps from broken trees. The stumps were different heights. We finished setting up camp and had dinner. I was so excited to be on my first hunting and camping trip. I was not scared. I do not believe in monsters, but I kept looking at that spot. A few of us were around the campfire. It was late and cold, but the fire was warm and was giving us good light due to the high flames. Better than the old Coleman lanterns we had hanging from the tree branches. One of the men told my dad not to look right away, but something was moving on the other side of the river. He thought it could be a person. It was in the exact spot that I kept looking at earlier. He told my dad that it was a dark color, and it kept peeking and ducking around the taller stump. Everyone gathered around the fire and made a plan to get all the flashlights and shine them in the area at the same time. Flashlights in 74 sucked ass. They had very dim and weak yellow light. When they shined the lights, they saw some movement, but it was mostly shadows. They dismissed it as a black bear or some other animal. I didn't realize it then, but no one had their gun with them when they were shining their lights. No one seemed to be worried. Later, I was in my sleeping bag and heard someone asking my dad if we might have set up camp near a moonshine still. He thought whatever was over there was on 2 legs, and there's absolutely no reason why or how someone would be out there. Could it be a moonshiner? The men took turns rotating watch that night and nothing else happened. The next morning, a couple of men crossed the river in a boat to check the spot. The area was so dense they didn't get out of their boat. They could see where something moved through the area but couldn't tell what it was. After breakfast, everyone left the camp in the boats to go to the area where they wanted to hunt. I had to stay in the boat, and one of the men stayed with me. After a while, we heard someone yell, and then we heard a few shots. When everyone returned, they were laughing at one of the guys who had a boar run him up a tree. They had a good story, but no boar. We went back to camp, and I got to shoot a gun for the first time. I shot a 12 gauge. My dad told me to move my head back on the stock, but I didn't listen. The gun recoiled, and the old split-style rear sights cut my forehead wide open. Blood everywhere. Good times. The rest of the afternoon was great, and I was one of the guys now. Late that night, one of the men told everyone it's back. Everyone looked and saw something move behind the stump. Everyone except me. I couldn't see anything because I was behind everyone. I heard the men say, "What the F is that? It's moving. God blank, it's big." They were all worried now. Everyone scrambled for their guns. They stood on the bank looking across the river. Remember, it's only 25 yards. They yelled, made a lot of noise, and fired off a few shots high into the trees. My dad told me to get in the tent, lay down, and stay low. I laid there trying to see through the bottom flap of the tent. It's weird that I can't remember how I felt. I remember so much detail, but not my emotions. All my senses were in hyper alert. It got real quiet for a while. Nothing was moving except the river water and the firelight. It seemed like time stood still. I don't know how long it was, but the men started yelling again. Someone yelled, "There it is behind the stump." This time, 8 men stood there terrified and emptied their guns at whatever it was. They stopped shooting. Nothing moved for a while, and then it stood up and ran to the woods. I didn't see it, but I heard it over the men yelling. How it didn't get blown to bits, I'll never understand. Why whatever it was never made a sound, I will never understand. All this happened after midnight. 8 men took 5 minutes or less to break camp and get in the boats. Everything was left behind except for the guns and a few flashlights. My dad had me lay in the bottom of the boat and we took off in the dark. As we were leaving, they saw whatever it was following us along the edge of the bank for a short distance. There was one man driving each boat and everyone else had their guns in the ready position. When we got back to the boat ramp, there was a meeting and everyone agreed never to talk about what happened. On the way home in the car, I asked my dad what happened. He said he couldn't explain what happened, but if I was going to be one of the men, I couldn't talk about it. What happens in the woods stays in the woods, I guess. One of the men was in the car with us and he never said a word. My question and my dad's answer were the only words spoken for the hour ride in the car. A few weeks later, I saw one of the men in my dad's business. I made a reference to that night. He gave me a look. The look told me I better shut up. He pulled my dad aside. They had a quick talk, then he left. My dad made it very clear to me that I messed up. We never discussed it again. I never saw any of those men again, and we lived in that small town for 4 more years. What the hell? I've gone 47 years without telling anyone. Because I believed we might have shot a moonshiner or someone, or that no one would believe the encounter. I never saw what was across the river, but I formed my own opinion not long after. Soon after the trip, I saw the famous Bigfoot film for the first time. I became the first Bigfoot expert in North America before I was 10 years old. LOL. I read and watch everything that was Bigfoot related. Every book, report, or essay that I turned in for school was on Bigfoot because I knew and could tell every story by heart. I always wondered if it was Bigfoot across the river, but had no one to talk to about it. My dad is getting up there in age now, so 2 months ago I finally asked him to tell me what happened that night. He said something big was stalking us. He said whatever it was scared everyone to their core. No one could explain it, so no one talked about it. No one knew how to deal with it. I told him I went all these years thinking it was possibly a person. He said 100% not a person. I told him everything I remembered. He couldn't believe that I could remember so much, and he didn't think I remembered the trip at all. Come to find out, my dad, the super skeptic of everything, is one of these people that believe every Bigfoot story, picture, and video. He believes everything that happens in every stupid Bigfoot show. He said he didn't believe before that trip. Those idiot shows made me a non-believer for a few years. I actually felt stupid for ever believing. Thanks to your videos, I believe again. Things I've pondered over the years. What would scare 8 armed men out of the woods at midnight, leaving everything behind? Why would we never talk about it? The only fear that I remember was when we left and went down the river in the John boats. It was dark, and when we entered the bay, it was so rough I was scared we were going to sink. That was real fear to make grown men take those risks to get out of there. Why can I see that riverbank so clearly in my mind, but I can't remember what year I graduated from college? I can see every tree, bush, and stump. I can see the overcast sky, the dark brown river water, the tannin-stained sand on the riverbank, and the dark black hole in the forest behind the upping stump. Was it just a bear? Did I have an overactive imagination? My dad confirmed everything I remember. I have an inherent belief that there is something evil in the woods. I'm only scared in the woods at night and will hold my piss before I leave the fire or tent. I usually sleep in the vehicle. Until my mid-20s, I could sense when someone was watching me. It was weird how I could turn and catch them looking. Is that why I kept looking towards the stumps? Did I sense something watching us? I no longer have that sense, but now I get caught almost every time I look at someone. How does that happen, and what caused it to reverse with me? I hope that technology would prove the existence before I die. I no longer have to have proof. I never want to see a Bigfoot in person or have any type of encounter. Thank you for your time in pursuit of the truth. Finally sharing this has made me happy for the first time since January 2020. Please share this if you would like, or feel free to contact me. I'd ask to stay anonymous. Thank you again. There's another gunshot. Hope they didn't wound something over there. I am so glad that brought you a little slice of happiness, man. I mean, shit. It's such a lifelong sentence for so many people. It's a lifelong sentence to join that club of no return, right? It's just not fair. Yep, bravo to those stupid-ass Bigfoot television shows. What an embarrassing effort. What an embarrassing group of people. What an embarrassing, shameful outcome. Every single one of those ridiculous shows have imposed on the world on this topic today. And there's no wonder that so many people are coming out and sharing here through this group of people than possibly ever have before. I mean, if you were half intelligent and you saw one of those television shows or the groups that produce them, who in their right mind would even want to contact those freaks, right? Bunch of pricks. Intentionally making this topic a joke. Sweeping people's testimonies under the carpet, belittling people, telling them crazy, telling them what they did or didn't see. Tell you what, they all need a big kick in the nuts. That's what I think. Be safe out there. Here I go to my next adventure.